Saudi judges face death penalty for being too soft on feminist activists. This is crazy. The human rights situation in Saudi Arabia is once again under the spotlight as Democracy for the Arab World Now, or DAWN for short, organization warns that Saudi authorities could sentence 10 renowned Saudi judges and justices to death on charges of high treason. This is due to accusations that they were too lenient on women's rights activists. Even the judge who notoriously convicted prominent women's rights defender Lujain Al-Hathlu to 20 years of imprisonment on baseless terrorism charges has been caught up in this crackdown. Shockingly, these judges were denied legal counsel and held incommunicado since they were arrested and detained in 2022. The 6 arrested judges were replaced by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's loyalists, who in turn immediately increased the sentences of several cases involving political activists and Twitter commentators. The Crown Prince's purges have become emblematic of the state of the judiciary, making it subservient solely to his wishes. These judges' prosecution is yet another alarming reminder that no one is safe in Saudi Arabia. Even the judges who have abused their power in the past are now being punished for not being brutal enough.
This is insane. This goes in line with what we constantly say, that personal freedoms are increasing, like social freedoms are increasing, and social liberties are increasing in Saudi Arabia, but political ones are decreasing. Even the judges are not immune. What is happening here? Can you explain, like, what is your interpretation of what's happening here?
So my understanding, I
Yeah.
know on the face of it. So the thing that they're being accused of is high treason, right? So that's why it carries the death penalty. But what they did that was supposedly treasonous is not rule brutally enough, apparently. And like, again, let me just repeat. The guy who sentenced a feminist activist who was just trying to drive in the country to 20 years of imprisonment on terrorism charges for trying to drive, he is one of the judges that's been caught up and maybe facing the death penalty.
So what was he supposed to do? I mean, how could you get why the death penalty for not giving a harsh sentence? What law is that?
It's really wild. And a lot of them, so according to Dawn, which is the organization actually founded by Jamal Khashoggi, I believe, this might be the facade for just a political purge. This might just all be the excuse that they're giving to do a political purge. Their charges appear to be politically motivated with no credible evidence presented against the accused, according to a source with knowledge of the trial. Weird. According to a source with knowledge of the trial who said he reviewed the court documents presented against the defendants, officials from, the certain office charged the judges after they signed confessions stating they had been too lenient in the state security cases they presided over during their tenure as judges.
What law are they referring to for this death penalty? Like, do they have a law that says that if the judges are not doing their job properly, like, is there a law for that, or are they just making it up as they go?
I don't know. And I've never heard of it being like, you didn't do your job harshly enough, so now that's therefore treason.
Like, isn't it supposed to be like you lose your job?
Yeah, right? yeah.
Like, okay, so there's different degrees of insanity here, okay? So because, first of all, the fact that there isn't even that this is even a crime is bizarre. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that, like, you could be like, okay, you're not a good judge, you're fired, right? Even if instead of this, like, oh, you're going to be punished, that would be like, punished? Why not? Why are they not just losing? Like, in other places, even if they're doing a political purge, they're just like, sorry, you can't be a judge anymore, okay? Because we're just like, we own this place. But if it was insane, it would be like, okay, we're going to imprison you. But now we're going to give you the death penalty? Like, I don't understand. This is just like, I don't, it's a whole other level. Is this like really true? It seems
Well,
to
okay,
be true.
here's more context. Among
Like,
the other
yeah, like
charges
this is
against them is
these are credible.
complacency.
These are credible sources. Like, what the hell? I can't believe this. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. Among the other
Sorry.
charges against them is quote unquote complacency towards state security criminals, the source explained, although it is not clear that this charge is a cognizable offense under Saudi law or would meet the requirements of international law if it were one. So it sounds like they are making it up as they go along because the person's like, I don't even know if this is a law.
This is not alive and by guys. Like, I don't. Here's the thing: a lot of our people don't understand. People watch us like, oh, of course, this is Saudi Arabia, blah blah blah. No, this is not even. But this is insane by even Saudi standards. This is insane by Saudi standards, not just by world standards. This is a whole other level. These are your judges. And guys, this is dangerous because at some point there might be a backlash to all of this. Like, this guy is like pushing the limits. I mean, these are you're talking about, because he was pushing against the religious leaders, and these religious people, these scholars, are too ingrained within the fabric of society for people to be like, yeah, you could just go and do this and there's not going to be any consequences at some point. So people are like, is there going to be one day consequences to all of this? And then he was doing this against the princes. Remember when he was putting the princes and arresting them and
That was
like
crazy.
and taking away like rich people. We're talking about rich people. We're talking about royalty. We're talking about the religious scholars, the
putting them
ulama,
under house
right?
arrest until they coughed up the money.
Yeah.
It's like,
and now
you're stuck here. You live here now until you give me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And then the military, some military officials, right now, and now the judges. Like, this is you need people by your side to be able to pull off this revolution that Mohammed bin Salman is going through, right? If everybody is afraid, at some point you're going to get stabbed in the back. Do you know what I mean? Like, how, like, maybe, I'm not sure, but I would be losing sleep right now if I was Mohammed bin Salman. Because if you go for everybody, anybody that is loyal to you is going to ask a very important question. Okay? Do you know what that next question, what that question is?
Will I be next?
Exactly. That's am I next? And if too many people, no matter how high up they are, and no matter how close to the power they are, if they have to worry about them being next, then you are going to be the one who's next, because they're going to go for you before you come for them. This is too dangerous for Mohammed bin Salman. This is going to, and I'm not, as much as I hate Mohammed bin Salman, I'm actually going to wish him the best right now. Okay? Because I'm going to wish him success. I don't want anything to happen to this man, because seriously, I hate, this guy is a monster, but I really, really hope that nothing happens to him, because if this man's plans fall apart, we could have an Islamic revolution in Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? Like, we could go back 50 years in Saudi Arabia. We could have an Islamic takeover, a Wahhabi takeover.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
I hope that doesn't happen. As bad as this guy is, that the instability that will bring in the region, first of all, that would be a blessing to the Islamic Republic of Iran. Oh my God, can you imagine them? How amazing that would be. But yeah, but this is scary. I'm scared. I'm scared for Mohammed bin Salman right now. Yeah.
I want to read a quote from the executive director of Dawn that they included in their release about this, and I thought it spoke to a lot of what Armin's been talking about. And it says, quote, nothing protects a Saudi citizen's basic rights to life and freedom, not even blindly obeying the crown prince's dictates or carrying out his dirty work by sentencing his critics to lengthy prison terms. By prosecuting these judges, MBS is sending a message to every judge in the country that they have to be as brutal as possible to avoid the fate of their victims.
Yeah, so if you think like no matter what I do, I could be next, then that's dangerous.
What's so crazy is I think we talked about these cases. So the newly appointed MBS loyalists are overturning previous sentences against critics and making them harsher, right? So, for example, there were two Saudi women, Salma al-Shihab and Noura al-Qatani, they were both sentenced to 8 and 13 years respectively for basically tweeting, literally just tweeting. Their sentences got overturned and increased to 34 and 45 years for their use of social media. One of these women is just like a doctor who's a mom, and she was just liking posts about women being able to drive or something as innocuous as that.
Liking, it was for liking. I remember that story. It was just liking a post.
And maybe retweeting. Max.
Yeah. Her life is ruined. Her entire life is upside down.
Decades.
Now. She was a professional woman with a family and everything. And everything is gone. Her life is hell now. For just 1 second decision. Jesus Christ, this country.
Yeah. So this is, I think people maybe have more perspective about when people start praising MBS and his reforms in quote unquote liberalization. This is part of why me and Armin get upset.
Yeah. This is, guys, so remember, your political rights are always more important than your social rights, right? But why? Because your social rights are built upon your political rights. Unfortunately, social rights get a lot more media attention because they're more involved in our day-to-day activities,
it's
right?
More personal.
It's more personal, right? And dictators, when they feel pressure, they could keep handing over, social freedoms to make a gesture of liberalizing. But liberation requires political rights, because without the political freedoms, any form of social freedoms that you get is not actually a right. It's a temporary gift that could be taken away. Without the political rights that gives you the tool to put the government under pressure, the actual rights that you think you have are not actual rights. They're just a gift from the top, not from the bottom up, and they could be taken away as easy as they have been given. So, for example, that's why freedom to what you want to wear, freedom to express your sexuality, freedom to listen to music, freedom to eat what you want, freedom for women to go where they want, freedom for women to study, music, all of that is great. But the more actual base rights that without them you wouldn't have those other rights are freedom of speech, freedom to vote for the people, freedom to have the representative that you want, freedom of assembly. These rights, freedom of speech is the most important one. Everything else is built upon that. So if you don't have that, everything else is not actually a right. It might look like a right, it might look like a freedom, but it's just the prisoner being given a better meal. That's what it is. A prisoner receiving a better meal. Right. Your chains are still there.
This is why Thomas Jefferson says that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Exactly. And I think it's one of the smartest things that's ever been said.
Get my best-selling book, Why There Is No God, for free. Click on the link for it in the description.